Alright guys, I'm going to cover Arbitrum real quick. This is a coin that I am still bullish on overall. Long term, maybe up and down, people dump tokens. It was a airdrop token, so I'm just going to go ahead and start covering what I'm looking at on this coin. We are kind of in a channel or a fallen wedge. You can see 1, 2, 3, around 4 areas of touch points over here, give or take. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we are in kind of like a fallen wedge type structure. Same for up top here. We have a couple touch points. So one thing I'm looking at is there was a harmonic here that we had a nice reaction from for the first time. You have a pretty much a 786 here, plus or minus 3. The 1414 we bounced from once here. I was looking for a bounce from here. If not, we do go down to the 1618. And the 1618 is going to be around 65 cents, so I'll go ahead and just mark that out for us too, because this could be a longer term spot buy position if we do get that. And I'll just label it real quick. Alright, cool. So now that we got that marked out, let's go ahead and check out some of the smaller time frames. There is a couple harmonics, potential harmonics here pointing upwards. Obviously, we're going to need some bullish momentum for this to play out, and that's going to be a good area where we could either go ahead and short or get out of our long positions. So we do have that one. We are also forming one here that lines up almost perfectly with the butterfly here. So we got a good area here to watch out for. I think on the higher time frames we did have a 3-day order block right around here, right around that same area, and I'm not sure if we had a weekly, but we have like a tiny, but for the most part we do have that 3-day one here. So let's go ahead and put that on, and you also have a 3-day fair value gap up here too, right? So that is just somewhere to watch out for. We have the block here, so right above that, where we'd keep a stop loss, and then we also have the 3-day fair value gap up here. So that's just, if we're going to get a big move up, that is the area that I will be targeting. Also have a breaker down here that's right at this daily fair value gap. Alright, so here, what I'm looking for is typically what I like to see in the butterflies is when you have that 786, you also get close to like a 786 pullback here. And we have pretty much a 786 here, so that's why I was looking to get in long around here to see if this holds. And then let me go ahead and just hide all of this. Let me throw it into a thing, and we'll really break down this trade and just see if there's anything we're missing, anything we're looking for. Alright, so we'll throw all this in here. So, alright. So currently, on the 4-hour, we are pushing right against a diagonal resistance, right? And we are starting to form bullish divergence on the 4-hour on this diagonal resistance. So what I'm looking for is the momentum is slowly starting to slow down on the way down. I'm looking for a potential break of this up. We have 1 tap, 2 tap, 3 tap. Usually on the 4th, typically we can see that breakout sometimes. So I am eyeing with the bullish divergence here to start breaking out of this, whether we come back down and we form maybe another low or something, but we'll go from there. So let's see here. Let's go back to the daily. We have a tiny order block here that's been respected as well. And is that right around? So yeah, that's exactly right around where the 1414 was from that larger harmonic that we had as well, which is 839, I believe it was. So that is the area where if we do tap that again, that would be a good entry. We also have this IFVG here that we're getting respected. So inverse fair value gap. But ideally, I am looking for this level to hold here and us get a push out from here. So ideally, this would be what I'd be looking for. Something like this. Maybe come up, fill that fair value gap here, a little higher, retest, and then go. So that's kind of what I'm eyeing here on Arbitrum. I'm looking for a push here. We already swept these lows that we had over here. So this got swept. Whoever's along here, that swept. You had a liquidity raid, so we already had a raid. 4 hour, I'm looking for that divergence now, which we already have one. Let me see if the RSI on the 4 hours already leading the breakout. Yeah, so we already have a 4 hour breakout on RSI too. So that is a good sign. We're breaking downward structure on the RSI. Typically that RSI can lead price sometimes on the breakout. So if you're gonna look to get back in, or if I was gonna look to add on the smaller time frames, I'd be looking at probably right down around here at 8054. And then let me go ahead and zoom out again, and let's bring back this larger harmonic I have and see where exactly that D point is, to see if it lines up with it. I think it was 802 or 8039. Take this off. You can actually see where the harmonic held above the 1414, like almost perfectly there, where I marked this out. Go back down to the 15-minute. So somewhere in this range I'd be looking at if you wanted to add back in. We would have to hold between 820 and 854, I think, for a continuation move up. Where I would want to see where my position is. If we do get down farther than that, I'd probably have to get out and then re-enter again. And I'd be targeting maybe if we came down and swept a little bit farther down here, and maybe gotten this small fair value gap that we have here, is what I'd be eyeing. But right now, I think this is a pretty good area for us to hold, for us to try to push out of this if we're going to push out of this. Especially when I was looking at the Arbitrum Bitcoin pair. So the Arbitrum Bitcoin pair is performing really well since we topped the 1618. So I don't know if I've showed you guys this. I might have in the other video, but we had this older like kind of range here. We had a low and we had a high. So I took a fib, and I'll just do it again just to show you. And I took it this way to find the extension of the 1618. So we tapped the 1618 extension. I love taking trades on the Bitcoin pair when we hit a 1618 extension, because usually you do see that reversal from those areas. And I guess you could say we might have had like a deep crab here, like an 886, 1618. So that could be a harmonic. The ratios are a little off, but I mean that 1618 is very powerful. You can even check like BNB versus Bitcoin on that. It actually called the top. If you zoom all the way out, I believe I had a fib extension from here to here. Yep. So I mean, vice versa. If you flip this upside down and you did the same exact thing, I mean, you could actually see the 1618 was the top of the BNB versus Bitcoin. So it's kind of what I'm looking at on Arbitrum. Very similar, just a 1618 extension on the Bitcoin pair, which is one of the main things that is grabbing my attention here. And you also swept liquidity. So you got the 1618 here. You came down and you swept all of these lows that you had here. So all these lows got swept. You can actually see. And we're holding support above it right now. So that is what I'm eyeing, especially on the Bitcoin pair, which why I might think there might be an arbitrary narrative popping up soon, because you're holding it. As long as we're holding above this area now that we swept them, and you're holding this on the Bitcoin pair, I think that's a good sign for Arbitrum to start to move back up, especially versus Bitcoin. USDT pair could obviously still go down, but the chart is looking pretty good in my eyes. But the Bitcoin pair is also in this fallen wedge type structure, so we could see a move with Arbitrum versus Bitcoin, at least up into this area where you might see a little bit more strength than just Bitcoin itself, when most alts right now look like shit versus Bitcoin. So this is why I'm picking Arbitrum a little bit more. Can even dig a little deeper. We'll look at dominance. So I did have a shark harmonic on dominance here that we're getting very close to. So if Bitcoin dominance hits this and Bitcoin still chops around or even grinds up, alts are going to actually run very, very hard. So I do want to see, you might get one little more push up on Bitcoin dominance, but since the Arbitrum versus Bitcoin chart looks good, you might not see as much of an effect on Arbitrum as you do some of these other coins. Like for example, I liked the AVAX trade, but the AVAX versus Bitcoin pair, when you really dig into it, here, let me pull it up. We had a nice breakout on it, but it just kind of looked like shit. Unless we reclaim this D point here. So we actually came down and we filled a fair value gap on it, but ultimately with this, we have a macro bat on this. And I don't think we see a really, really big, strong move on AVAX until this is reclaimed. So obviously this could be the ideal entry where we start to bottom out more, but when I see this reclaim, this is where I'm going to see more strength probably on AVAX. But Arbitrum right now just looks pretty good overall versus Bitcoin, which is why I like that trade the most. They're also doing like an ARB incentives to kind of kickstart the ecosystem over there. So fundamentally wise, they have something going on. And then even some of the altcoins on Arbitrum are starting to look like they are breaking out of some structures here. Like we had this harmonic here. We also had like a trend line break here on Radiant. So Radiant looks good. This is on the Arbitrum ecosystem. I haven't checked Pendle in a while. But I mean, even this one had a nice little move up. It's coming right back down into like an order block area. But overall, I mean, I just think it honestly looks the best versus Bitcoin with that 1618 tap. Even Magic had a fantastic move up. It was a lot stronger than most alts off of this butterfly that we had. And if you zoom out on Magic, I think I have another chart, but we're going for like a retest here of this breakout. So I think Arbitrum, some Arbitrum coins are going to pop. And if you do retest this, I mean, you have a daily fair value gap down here on Magic as well. So we could just be coming down to retest this, retest the breakout, hit the fair value gap, and then look for a move up. And I think I posted some charts on this earlier of a potential play here on Magic, and this is a double top over here, so I mean, I'd probably be looking for more of like a shark or cipher based on this. Which, I mean, this did go a little bit higher, but either way you look at it, your 786 here is like right inside that fair value gap, and you have a 4-hour order block here too. So that's a good area to look at. You could also, I mean, you can move it this way. I know we had a higher high here, but barely. So you'd be looking at something like this, even between the 786 and that 886 for like a shark-like structure here. Or a cipher. Yeah, so it'd be more of a cipher because I didn't have that pinned correctly. So yeah, in that fair value gap down here for Magic is a spot I'd be eyeing. So it's almost there. I mean, it's almost there. And if this does end up turning into a 1.13 shark, it'd be down in this area around 42 cents. But this is another chart that looks really good. That is breaking out. I mean, the higher time frames. Let's see if I can. Yeah, see, this is what I was looking for. Let's go to. I know I have another chart with a lot more data on it. Yes, it's this one. So let me. I don't feel like hiding it. So you guys are just gonna have to deal with everything on my chart right now. But I mean, just this level in general over here is gonna be a strong level. So look for a retrace back into this, and I think Magic could pick up some steam from here. But overall, I mean, I just think Arbitrum looks good. So that's just my take on it. Obviously, it can still go down, but I think if things do turn around, Arbitrum's going to be a good bet.